There it is, Andrea. You see that check mark? It just popped up. Our decision desk within the last 2 minutes has officially called this Democratic Senate primary in Kentucky for Amy McGrath over Charles Booker. McGrath will advance to face Mitch McConnell in what will certainly be an uphill fight for her in a very red state in the fall, but one that will get plenty of national attention, I'm sure. Basically, what's happened here is the primary for in-person voting was last week in Kentucky, but of course there were some votes that were cast in person last week. There were a lot more votes that were cast by mail, and that's what county by county has been released this morning in Kentucky. A lot of these counties had given us what the vote was on Election Day last week, but again, that was a small share of it. Today we were getting the mail-in totals, and a couple things emerged from this. Number one, basically you can see it. The darker shade here is McGrath. Geographically, McGrath is winning county after county. There were two main sources of strength for Charles Booker. One was his home base around Louisville, Jefferson County. That's a biggie. That's a quarter of the state in terms of the Democratic electorate. The other was around the University of Kentucky in Lexington, the second biggest county. Together, these two counties, about 35% of the vote in this primary. So we wanted to see, was Booker going to get big enough margins out of these counties to withstand what was to come from McGrath across the rest of the state? About an hour ago, we got the results from Lexington and Louisville. And even with that, Booker was still about 2,000 votes short of McGrath, and you can see as every other county has come in, that lead has built for McGrath. It's up to 10,000. There's not a lot left here, so McGrath is going to win this, is going to advance to face McConnell. And I think the other significance of this is what voting, this is what elections are going to look like in a lot of states this November. And I think it's something to keep in mind. You know, for the last week, we were looking at very, very partial, very, very incomplete results. For instance, I'm going to show you this one right here. This is Fayette County, Lexington, second biggest in the state. Now, look, Booker ends up winning this county by 6 points. For the last week, though, we had very partial results that showed Booker ahead by 50 points. That was from the same day vote. Very small share. That was released right away. That had Booker up 50. That vast sea of mail-in ballots, though, very different. And it cut a 50-point Booker lead down to 6. So keep that in mind. I think everywhere across the country, we're probably going to get partial results, election night right away, and then an ocean of mail-in ballots that could be very, very different.